I think, Dr. Little, you've got another item, 10.4, which again, board is a report. So I'm going to turn it back to Dr. Little.
Well, when we have new principals, I would say a rookie principal, but he's not a rookie principal. When we have new principals, we like to break them in by having them come to a presentation to the school board during the first quarter of their first part of their tenure. Of course, I'm joking about that, but Mr. Hardy is the new principal at White Knoll Middle School. And because of the priority status of White Knoll a couple years ago that they then moved off of, but they're still part in that program, he's going to give you an update about what they've been working on at White Knoll Middle School specifically. And of course, this has been an unusual time, obviously, with COVID, but we just wanted to talk about what's taking place here at the beginning of the year, specifically at White Knoll Middle School.
And thank you. I just want to say it's nice to meet you, Madam Chair and the board. First time to be able to be here in front of you guys. I'm very proud of White Knoll Middle School. They've done an awful lot of things over there. So it's an opportunity just to be able to talk about some stuff that's going on, some goals we have going with it. You're going to find I'm very data driven, so my conversation is going to be more about the data and what we're trying to work on to try to get them moved. Dr. Little did tell me I had an hour and a half, so I'm going to try to keep it a little bit shorter than that.
At least minimal?
Yes.
Minimal.
All right, so conditions at White Knoll. I think the big thing we've been preaching, and everyone's buying into it, is the stronger together. We couldn't get through this if we're not all tying and just learning about each other, helping each other. It's great walking through the halls. I got kids coming up to me all the time saying, Mr. Hardy, I just want to be here 4 days a week. And there's that excitement. You know, how often do you get middle school kids going, I want to be in school as much as I can? And so you can just see that energy and how much they enjoy being there and the pride of the school. And that's the part that I think has helped out an awful lot. It's not been easy. I'm not going to pretend it's an easy thing. Teachers have had to adjust. They've worked really, really hard. Kids and teachers have done a good job of keeping their social distancing. We take it seriously because we need to protect. And like we said, the biggest thing is we got to do it together, because the longer we can keep COVID out of the school, then the faster we get to go back and be full face-to-face. So as a priority school, the reason why we're there is because we had some low scores back in 2017 and 18. We were at 33.2%. 2018-19, on track for that 35.2% proficient, which on your SC Ready, remember that's your MET or exemplary that we're at. And so for this next year, we obviously did not have any SC Ready scores from the end of the year. So one of the first things we did was we did STAR testing. Now granted, that was part of the state requirement for the first 2 weeks, but I'm a big believer that we don't just do data just to do data. We got to be using it, making decisions, making academic choices. And so if you look at the English, the nice thing about STAR testing is that it actually gives you a prediction of what our proficient would be. And so its prediction for English was at 39.7%. Our goal, according to our long-term 5-year plan, was to be at 39.2% at the end of this year. So on the English piece, we're looking pretty good. That doesn't mean we're done. We're going to keep on growing with that, but that is a very big positive thing. With math, we were at 34%, and in 2018, they were at 32.7%. So math, we went backward just a little bit on that piece. And again, we did not have any math scores, so we had to use the STAR testing. Now, you're going to look at the STAR testing, you're going to see 23.6% of the students are predicted to be proficient. I'm going to warn you on that. Those kids that had no teaching whatsoever, during the summer or even to start off the beginning of that school year. And I don't know how many math is my background. I used to be the math coordinator in District 5. And I'm going to tell you, math is about confidence. And I do believe that's part of the reason why that score was so low. I'm totally anticipating that score to be quite a bit higher whenever we retest in December. Because part of that, kids just don't think they can do it. And math is one of those ones where if you don't try, you don't get. But I will tell you, there's a lot of great teaching going on. Teachers have used these scores to set their SLOs. And we've had some really good conversations because like we talked about, growth does not occur by accident. You got to be purposeful. That means we're looking at those kids, seeing where they're struggling at, what are the indicators, where they're weak at, and then we're picking some key indicators in the year. And what we talked about is things that are going to make them grow. What is the main indicator for that grade level that if we get growth out of, we're going to get growth overall because that's the main indicator. So to kind of give you an example, 7th grade, it was exponential. And so multiplying, dividing exponents is a big thing in 7th grade. So that's what we're hitting. It'll be hit all the way through the year. So they're going to see it on every single assessment. They'll continue to see that because they've decided that's a key component in 7th grade math. So again, our goals are going to be 43.2% at the end of the 2022-23 school year, which we are definitely on pace for the ELA. I do look forward to next year. Whenever we come in here, we'll be able to say we're on target with 49% for math. Because again, I do anticipate a much higher score off of that piece. We do get money for priority funding. And so with that money, what we've used is we've invested in a math instructional coach, classroom libraries. We had a summer enrichment camp, which all these I'll explain a little bit more as we go through. And then we bought some math supplies and manipulatives. We did get a brand new math textbook. And so with that, that's going to come, you got to refurbish a lot of that different stuff to be able to get that curriculum going. So last year, we did have summer school. Of course, one of the hard things is we don't see the kids face to face. It's not as easy to get buy-in on the summer school program. So for next year, I can tell you our goal is, I'm a big believer at summer school. It's not just about content, which is hard to believe. Whenever they go, you're a math coordinator and you don't think it's about content. I believe firmly it's about that social emotional, and it's about mindset. It's about getting those kids to change what they're thinking. One of the things I have definitely learned is kids that are struggling, 99.9% of them will come to you and say, I don't know what I want to do with my life. And what I compare that to is if I go outside and I tell you I want you to run as long and hard as you possibly can, how hard are you going to run? Most middle school boys are going to say about as hard until I see that good-looking girl walk by and I might stop. And then I tell them, I go, well, let's add one thing to it that's going to change all of it. If I put at the end of that football field someone standing with $10,000 and I say, you can get that money if you make it there within 3 minutes and 30 seconds, how hard are you going to run now? And the kids immediately go, I'm going to run hard. And I go, even whenever all these people come by and try and distract you, you're going to keep on running. And they're like, yes. And I go, and that's the key to success in education. If you don't have a goal, you're not going to make it. And so that's one of the things in summer school that we'll put a heavy emphasis on is trying to get them career focused and figuring out what do they want to do. So that way, every day they wake up, they can have that beside their bed and have a goal for their life. And so one of the things I always say is summer school is about breaking the pattern. We don't want it to keep happening. So the goal is whatever kids you have in summer school are not the same kids that you have in summer school the next year. And so we want to put summer school out of business is what our goal is. So we do have push-in services. On face-to-face, we have some push-in models. On the Lola, we have pull-out models. We found that it was way more efficient to do pull-out on the virtual realm. It was just not as easy to do it with the push-in model. And we are having some success with that piece. And of course, with the class, one of the things we're doing is we're doing a lot of observations. At this point, I think we have done 76 walkthroughs in the classroom, and it's about giving the teachers feedback, because I don't care what the data says. If you don't know what's going on in the classroom, the teachers aren't getting good feedback, you're not going to grow. And so we picked out 4 cycles, and they're going to go through 1/4 of the 4.0 rubric at a time. So the teachers on every walkthrough, so every teacher will get a walkthrough every 2 weeks. And it will provide them feedback on those 4 rubrics that was the focus for that cycle. And then we collect that information, and then that's what we use to make decisions on our professional development. So for instance, one of the things we saw that we were a little bit weak on was feedback. So that's actually something that we've hit a little bit harder on. How do we provide feedback in this virtual realm? How do we give feedback whenever we can no longer just tell kids, buddy up, be shoulder to shoulder with someone and work with them? So we had to come up with some creative ways to get that feedback piece in, but the observations helped us to see that that was a need. In our goal set, we do have workshop model. They've been working on that for, I think, about 1.5 years now. And of course, with everyone going out, last year, I don't think they had a great chance to get great implementation. So this year, we're going to be focusing hard on getting much better implementation of the workshop model. I will say the English department's done a pretty good job of doing that, but even they will tell you that it's just different in today's realm. So we're having to figure out, what does the workshop model look like whenever we're on that virtual realm? What does it look like on the AVID model? What does it look like in Lula? And so that is part of the piece that we've learned how to do with that. And I'm going to say, one of the things I've loved with this district is just the district office has been amazing. They've helped us out to come up with goals. They've helped us to come up with ways to solve things. I just absolutely love it. No one has an agenda. It's all about just helping each other be successful. And I don't think we would be where we are if we did not have that assistance from the district office. Of course, part of the plan is also the Read to Succeed. We had a great opportunity. We did a school-wide book club just last Friday. And it was awesome because what happens is we had all the teachers filled out what genre they were interested in. I did fantasy, which, by the way, fantasy is a lot broader than I originally thought it was. But we were assigned about anywhere from 7 to 10 kids in that room, and they came in virtually, and they met with us, and we just talked about what books they were interested in. And so it was a lot of fun. The kids really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, just learning about it, like just from personal experience. We left the meeting talking about what books we wanted to read for the next book club. And so that's part of getting the kids interested and exciting about it. It was funny because some of the teachers were like, man, we got another thing on our agenda. But by the time we were done, the teachers were like, this is awesome. This was a lot of fun. We really enjoyed getting to talk to these kids about just about books. So, of course, we're going to continue sharing books. We are making a big focus on what books teachers and administration are reading. So we're getting those up on the doors and like that so the kids can see what type of books we're reading so that they know that we're constantly reading as well. We are increasing. In fact, we just got some extra money to improve some of our library books and bring them more up to date. We've had to increase some of our virtual books. As you can imagine, we've also had to come up with some processes to how to check out books to our Lulu kids, which we do have a process for that. We have kids that will check them out, and they will even come in and pick up those books. We have a delivery system at the front of the building that we deliver the books to them. So, of course, the only way, I don't care what anyone tells you, the only way you can ever get better in reading and writing is to read and write. You can pay whatever you want for all these programs, but in the end, you got to read and write. And so we're doing that throughout. You're going to see we have a very heavy focus on science and social studies. In fact, we're planning on having another meeting in the next couple Fridays to how we can focus even more on some of the discipline literacy in those two contents. Because, and you'll note social studies especially has become even more English focused, even on the testing from the English standards has a social studies aspect to it. So that's why that's become even more important on us to be able to get those kids focused in those areas. We have coaches that are working on tier 2 and tier 3 students. We've identified those kids, and we are working with pull out and also with push in on those kids to try to get them up. And again, we look at their data, see where they're weak at, and then we're helping them to get where they need to in class. Of course, we're doing the same thing in math, where math is not as far along as English on the workshop model, but they have been, I'd say they're in partial implementation with it. Workshop looks a little bit different whenever we get into the math, but what's helped is having a new textbook. That always helps out with changing the guard on some things and how you're teaching it. Of course, the whole purpose of the workshop model is to get those kids in and actually doing math in live action, not just solving a formula. And, if the kids can't explain it, they don't really understand it. And that's part of where we're focusing on with the math as well. And again, like I said earlier, we're learning how to give some specific feedback in the virtual realm. We are implementing AVID, which some of you probably have heard of. Carolina Springs is actually already on full implementation, I believe. They're a little bit further ahead than we are. We're just started to get there. We're focusing on some 7th grade. The whole purpose of AVID is a mind shift, and it's all about trying to take into account some kids that have normally been in the minoritized groups, that have not been in the honors program, that have not been pushed to that next level. So it works on trying to get those students, and it does a great framework. If you ever have a chance to look at AVID, it kind of explains how to get there. We always talk about this is what we want to do. AVID takes a framework to it, and it really does a good job of helping us to be able to get those kids to set goals, to want to be in the honors programs. But it also trains teachers on that thought process, and it brings to light some of our natural biases that maybe we might have. And the goal is we want our honors group to represent the demographics of our school. And if it's not doing that, then that's where we need to work at. And so we have pulled a group of kids, and we did get them pushed in some honors, but we do that also with in their academic connections class. We have a section that actually goes in there and helps them to focus on goal setting in the classroom. How do they work at this higher level? How do they do note taking? How do they get organized? Again, it's a very deliberate set curriculum that helps these kids to get where they need to be, but it also helps the teachers to see that all kids can succeed no matter what. And so I know I talked a lot, but didn't know if you had any questions for me.
Principal Hardy, when will be your next touch point? You mentioned the STAR testing as a surrogate or as a way to estimate or back into the proficiency. But will you have a touch point at the end of the semester, or will it be the end of the school year will be our next touch point on how we're progressing?
We will do it again in December before we leave for Christmas. But we already, on some of our tier 2 and tier 3 kids, we already touch on some stuff, because we can do STAR testing as many times as we want. So we already do some of that STAR testing already to try to see some growth with it.
And the STAR testing in previous years correlated well with the proficiency? Meaning, you understand that correlation, I guess?
Oh, yes, I understand. The correlation's easy to understand, though. They're based off, that's that national norms. And so whenever they're getting that national norms, their correlations are pretty good with it on that piece. Now, I will tell you, they even have the one report actually predicts, we project with 76% certainty that this kid is going to be proficient. So it gives you that number to actually get a good idea with it.
So in December, you'll have some insight into the Lula kids versus the hybrid kids and how one progressed against the other, at least for your group of students.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see.
Yes, sir.
I have a 8th grade daughter, and we were talking about, I also have a 5th grade son, and we were talking about the change to, them going to a non-numerical system grading. And I'm always amazed at when you just shut up and listen to a kid and just the profound things they will say. And she said, man, that would be nice. And I said, what do you mean? She's like, well, that would be really nice just to learn to learn. Mm-hmm. And it was like, wow. I was like, you don't feel that way? She's like, well, a lot of times we feel like we just learn to take a test. And so here's the struggle. The rub is we have to have the data. We have to be able to measure progress. We have to be able to do those things. But at the same time, you hit on it perfectly when you said that you just do by doing. You learn by doing. And so that's what the kids are telling us. The kids are telling us that, hey, I just want to learn, and so, certainly I'm interested, like Dr. Powers is talking about, I'm interested to see where the data takes us, but at I think the BHAG, the big, hairy, audacious goal here is just to have children who want to learn for the sake of learning, the lifelong learning that we're trying to instill because they're hungry for it. And it's, you talked about wanting to be back to school 4 days face-to-face. They're hungry for it. When they can't have it and they don't understand the value of it, they really begin to appreciate it. And I think that's what we'll see after this is all said and done.
I totally agree.
Any other questions, board? Well, thank you, Mr. Hardy, and it's nice to meet you, and this was a wonderful report, and we look forward to the goals and what you accomplish at White Knoll Middle. Dr. Little?
I just want to also say thank you. You can see why the interview committee was really blown away by the vision and the drive that Mr. Hardy's going to bring to White Knoll Middle and is bringing to White Knoll Middle now, and the impact he's going to have there in the future. So fantastic work. Thank you very much, sir. Madam Chair, that's all that I have.
Okay, thank you.